Hey there, this is Sean Donahoe, and welcome to another expert panel interview. And today I've got a very special treat for you. I've got my dear friend Amy Applebaum. Now, Amy is an author, consultant, speaker. She's a success coach, and she's helped thousands of entrepreneurs all over the world break through the barriers that inhibit their success and happiness through her groundbreaking 6-step process. Now, I've known Amy for a good long time now. She is an absolute rock star in her industry. And she's just recently launched her Inner Millionaires Coaching Club, which targets women entrepreneurs, and she's helped really give them a platform. Yeah, it's really a platform to help even more women, and has been met with rave reviews by clients. And here's the cool thing. Amy is a frequent television guest, having appeared on ABC News, CNN, The Learning Channel, LX New York, Dr. Drew's Life Changers. I mean, this girl is everywhere. And she's even been on the Martha Stewart show. We won't hold that against her. She has been featured and quoted as an expert in the New York Times, the International Herald Tribune, Cosmopolitan, Teen, Women's World, and Shape. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, Amy, welcome to the expert panel. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the line today. And how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for that intro.
No, you're welcome.
Makes me blush.
I know. But, you've done so much. It's absolutely incredible. So I guess the first question I would have for you is, you help entrepreneurs just starting out. Now, when you kind of get a new entrepreneur, and they're coming to you saying, I want to start my own business. How do I get started? What things do I need to do? How do you tackle that particular question? Because there's a lot of new marketers in our audience, and they're just getting starting out. So a lot of these people are going to have the same base questions, even if they're not saying it to them out loud to someone else. They're probably saying it to themselves. So how do you tackle that?
The first thing I say is run. I'm just kidding. I think that really developing, first of all, you have to have a vision. Number one, you really have to understand what it is that you're building, because if you lack that clarity, your business will lack clarity, and then your target market won't really understand what you're offering or why they should engage with you. So that vision is critical. And once you're clear on the type of business that you're building, you need that business model. How am I going to actually make money from this? Mm-hmm. And not, hey, I think it would be cool because I'm an expert and I'm really good at this. I think I'll just offer these products and services. You can't do it that way. You have to really understand, who are you marketing to? Who do you like marketing to? And do the products and services that you want to offer, are they even interested in them? I can't tell you how many people, I call it being an expert head. You create a product.
I like it.
And you're like, ooh, I know what's best for my clients. And as experts, we do. Mm-hmm. But if they don't think that they need whatever it is you want to create, you're screwed. Absolutely. I mean, there's no business. They won't buy from you. So it's really critical to understand your vision, understand what it is you're selling and who your target market is, and have really done that research to make sure that you have competitors. You should have competitors, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you know better than anyone. If you don't have competitors, then there's not like this proof out there that somebody wants what you're offering.
That's very true. And I always, the way I equate it to is, I always say when you're going for starting a new business, that you've got to make sure that you have many competitors, because competitors are JV partners you just haven't created a relationship with yet. And like you say, I always go after the biggest niches, because first of all, that means there's a huge market, that all these people are competing in this market, and you can make yourself stand out from the crowd and be the exceptional part of that. I always try and tell people to raise themselves to be the top 10% in that market.
I love that.
But you've got to really charge ahead. You can't, for example, I've got a client who created a business selling chicken coops. And then wondered why they weren't selling much in that market. There's not a huge market for building your own chicken coop.
Right.
If you're going to go after like the weight loss industry, the fitness, health, business, those are huge markets where there's a lot of demand for new and innovative products. So if you've got a different mindset, that's great. But you coined the phrase expert head. That's great. One of the things, certainly in the internet marketing industry and so-called gurus, as they like to call themselves, there's a lot of egos. Now, when you're first starting out, a lot of entrepreneurs have a lot of... They want to do it, but they have a lot of self-doubts. Now, how do you address those self-doubts? Because you're bang on the nail. Everything you're saying so far with you've got to have vision and clarity. You've got to really understand your target market and what they need. And then identify with them and their base needs and provide a solution to those needs. But when you first started, you've got a lot of self-doubts. It's like, can I do this?
That's right.
There's people who have jobs right now, no job security, and they're worried, I could be canned at any minute. I need to do something on the side. Or they've got no job right now and they're trying to start out, which is a horrible place to start from, because when you start from desperation, you make wrong decisions because you're desperate.
Yeah.
So how do you get around those kind of things and those self-doubts?
Yeah. Self-doubt is huge when you're starting something new. So the very first thing I always tell people is accept self-doubt. Mm-hmm. Right? Meaning, when you're stepping outside of your comfort zone, you're going to doubt what you're doing. It's always going to happen. It happens to me every other week because I'm trying to do something new. I know it happens for you. You step into an area that you're not used to, and it's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So this is something you need to accept, that self-doubt is part of being an entrepreneur. So now, how do we not have self-doubt destroy our business? First of all, team. You've got to have a kick-butt team. It's so critical to have a great team around you of people who've done it before, right? And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. So when you're first starting out, you don't need to go and assemble a board of directors and have to give them equity in your company. There's so many people that if you reach out and you share your passionate vision with them, what you're up to, what you know, the difference that you want to make, the value you want to provide, they'll get so excited to jump on board with you.
That's very true.
Getting a team around you of people who are, this is where we were talking about ego before. This is where you have to let go of ego. Mm-hmm. You can't do this on your own. You have to, you and I talk a lot about masterminding. We mastermind. So you have to put that great mastermind group around you of people who are much better at you than you in certain areas. So team.
Beautiful.
Team, acceptance of the self-doubt, and then feedback. You can't just assemble a team. You have to listen to your team. Mm-hmm. And you have to get feedback. You have to start to get really good at receiving feedback, because a lot of people aren't good at it. And what I mean by that is the ego creeps in. We don't want to hear it because we're stuck in that expert head. And the reality is, I like to say there's no such thing as failure. You've probably learned this too. There's no such thing as failure in feedback. It's like the law of business. You have to accept, okay, I want to actually make mistakes as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So that I can figure out what went wrong and what needs to shift and change.
That's very, very good. I love that. And you're absolutely right, because if everyone's going to have failures, you're not going to succeed first time you run out and start your business. There's going to be problems, there's going to be roadblocks. You just have to overcome them, recognize them, learn from them. And when you do it at the beginning, this is a beautiful thing, guys. When you're an entrepreneur, you do this right at the very beginning when you're first starting out, and you tackle them right then and there. You identify them so when later on, it's smoother sailing. And all the way through business, you're going to hit new problems, new challenges, new roadblocks. Right. That's what business is about. You're responsible for your own success in this regard. And you've got to recognize, I'm going to hit a problem. I just have to have the cojones keep going to tackle it. So
right. They never end, right? I mean, let's be honest. As an entrepreneur, your problems never end. They are never ending. It's a new problem. It's a new challenge every single day. And
don't look at it in a negative light, because like Amy said, you've got to be outside of your comfort zone. If you're outside of your comfort zone, you're doing something right. If you're in your comfort zone, you're not going forward. And that's a very good point. And again, what Amy was saying there about the having a group, having a team and everything else, you've got that with the inner circle here. You're watching this. We have the community where you can get feedback. There's all sorts of resources here, and there's all sorts of service providers within our community. If you need someone to give you critiques about your site, you can ask for that feedback. If you have a business model and you want to say, hey, I've hit this problem, just make a post. Someone is bound to have hit that problem
That's right.
before and be able to say, oh, you know how this is how I solved that problem.
That's right.
So right here, you're not only part of an inner circle, you have a team here as well. And you can develop outsourcers to offload skills, because that's one thing that both Amy and I do is we're not masters of every part of our industry. And one of the big mistakes I make was I was always solo amigo. I was always doing everything myself. So we have built teams around us that, hey, if we're not site builders, great, we can outsource that. If we're not programmers, guess what? We can outsource that to other parts of our team. If we want to have, Amy works with her sister, who's incredible, Laura, who helps with Amy's organization. So Amy can focus on what she does. And I have that with my wife, who thankfully keeps me organized.
Right.
So otherwise I'd be a complete bloody mess. So this is a very, very strong part. And once you start getting up to that, you think, oh, I can't afford that. When you first start, you've got this community here to help you. So that's fantastic. So, okay, well, that's good. That's self-doubt covered. That's, as you say, run if you want to start an entrepreneur.
That's right.
It is.
Actually, can I add
challenge.
something really quick?
Sure, go ahead.
I was just going to say the big piece, it's a huge piece that I left out, was it's not just feedback from your team. And I know we talk about this all the time. It's back to the other thing that I mentioned before. You've got to get feedback from your community. Mm-hmm. And I cannot tell you, I have learned the hard way by launching products, again, because I think they're cool and I think that they need them, or I know that they need them, because from my kind of psychology, communications background, I know that if we develop you in this area, you'll be successful. However, if that doesn't speak to you, if you don't think you have that problem, which most of the time you won't necessarily recognize your own problems, it's not going to attract you. We have to market in such a way that our audience feels we're solving the problem that they recognize that they have. Mm. And so that is another conversation which we might get into here about branding and marketing. But I guess what I'm saying is, the way that Sean and I now launch products is we actually tap into our community. We ask them what they want. Mm-hmm. Ask them what price points they want those products at. They tell us. My community says to me, oh, I would love that. So I send it out to everyone, and when a good 70% of those people say that they want that product, I say, great, and what would you pay for that? They tell me. So I create it, and I offer it. And
That's good.
And I provide a lot of value.
That's great. And Amy, Amy is this is why I love this expert panel, because I try and get the best of the best, the cream of the crop, and also the people with the greatest integrity in the industry. So this is one of the things. So this is one of the ways you can build that integrity and trust. And we'll get into this in a minute, because I want to tackle you on this particular subject of building trust. But that is a great way to build trust, is ask your community what they want. Do a little survey. You can create, there's all sorts of ways you can create surveys. I think it's SurveyMonkey or Monkey Survey. You could create a simple 10-question survey, put it out to your entire audience, give them a little incentive for filling that in, and you can get great feedback. Now, I'll give you one pricing tip as well. Whatever your customers are willing to pay, double it. They'll still pay that if it's valuable enough to them as well. That's a great, and that's one thing I do as well, because there's going to be people you can give an introductory package, and then you'll have a bigger package for the people who really need it, and you can then all that extra value can be beneficial, because the people who want it will pay that little extra for that increased information. So you can do. It's one thing we do is we do a base package and an advanced package for those who really want to delve in to the the finer details and stuff like that. So but yeah, absolutely. So now we touched on trust. This leads me to another series of quick questions, because one thing we've both built our business on is integrity, trust, and our natural expertise in these fields. We're not expert heads. We're not gurus or self-acclaimed gurus. We actually walk the walk, talk the talk. We've done it in our business, and we're sharing our knowledge with people. But how do new marketers establish their own brand, stand out from the crowd, especially if they're in a market with lots of competitors, and build that trust? Now, I've taught my guys some ways to do it, but I'd love to get your perspective on that.
Yeah. there's a term I use a lot called Fortune 500 branding. And what it means is you should start building your brand. Whether you want to be a Fortune 500 brand is completely irrelevant. And in fact, most entrepreneurs don't want that level of, pressure. But you should build like a Fortune 500 brand. So for example, what are the big companies? They do all the R&D. They do all the research and development to make sure there's a target market for what they're offering. Why? Because they're smart at business. They know that they want their investment to count.
Exactly.
So when you build a brand like a Fortune 500 company, people get very confused about branding. And branding really is, what is the story behind you and your company and the products and services you're offering? Branding isn't the product. It's everything around it. So I give examples like, it's the difference between some generic, running shoe and Nike. When you think Nike, it's not just, what do they call it? Fitness wear. It's just do it. Step outside of your comfort zone. You can do it. Really go for it. Be inspired. You think of this entire brand. When you see that little swish, that swish meant nothing until they created the story around the brand Nike. It's a brand because there's a story behind it, because it's about success, personal achievement. So when you're building your company, it's absolutely critical to be thinking about, what's my story? Why am I here? Who am I? And that when you've decided who you are as a brand and what your story is, that story permeates through every single part of what you do in your business, from the messaging on your website to the visual images, but also to how someone picks up the phone for customer service. That's when you go to Starbucks and they greet you and then they ask you your name and they put it on the cup, that's branding. Because they've made the decision that they want you to feel like when you walk in their location that you're at home. They want you to feel like you're at home. So every person asks you your name, writes it on the cup, so that the whole process of getting your latte, everyone's using your name.
It's a personal experience.
And you feel it. You know that it's branding. You know they wrote the name down, but you don't care because you still at the end of the day feel like they went that extra mile. So you have to decide, it's the difference between Martha Stewart and Rachel Ray. What's the difference? You can see it. Rachel Ray is like, get her done. Give me the oleo. Let's just cheap food, fast family. Martha Stewart's like high end, do it right. So you really have to decide, who are you? And by the way, I'm not just talking about developing personalities, right? Because not everybody's going to be the personality behind their brand. They create a company brand. But really, does that answer that question?
Absolutely. That's great. And kind of touching on the trust thing, when you're first starting out, they've got the brand, but how would they start building that trust with their market? Because like you say, a lot of people are, I say, be the personality, be the brand, be the person at the front end. Now, some people aren't comfortable with that, and that's okay. I'll just a bit of background for me, guys. I hate writing. I am dyslexic. I have ADHD. I have the world's worst grammar. I have to have everything proofread several times, especially when I start making edits. It's horrible. So what I started doing was I had to stand in front of a video camera because I didn't want to write. But I went from outside of one comfort zone into another uncomfortable zone to stand in front of a camera and be the personality. Now, again, you've got to put yourself outside of the comfort zone, like I say, and do things. But if you start becoming your brand, you've got to embrace that brand as well. But that's great for building one-on-one rapport, and both Amy and I teach that. But if you're not the brand, if you're not being the brand yourself, and you're standing behind, either way, how do you start building trust and real rapport when you first start out?
Okay, well, there's two ways. I'm trying to think of what to call these two ways, but they fall into two categories. One I'm just going to call the artificial way, and the other one I'm going to call the organic way, okay? And you need both. So organically, you guys are all part of Sean's community. Why everybody loves Sean is because they know he's telling the truth all the time. He's vulnerable. He's honest. His messaging's honest. He admits what he knows and what he doesn't know. All of these things help to build trust. So whether it's his face or my face on the brand, or it's just the messaging on your website telling the story, that honesty is totally critical because people feel it. So Be truthful in your messaging. Be truthful. Don't start to see that sales and marketing is about manipulation. You've got to get that out of your head. It's not about manipulation. It's about crafting language in such a way that it appeals to the person who's listening. So, there's a difference between, I'm a great coach, but if I say to you, yeah, I'm humble, I don't want to really, I'm okay, you're not going to hire me. So I need to learn that being confident in saying things a certain way will help you feel better about hiring me. So being honest and having integrity, that needs to permeate through everything that you do. You need to make sure that when you do like mastermind like Sean and I do, that you trust that person, that you know that they have integrity. Don't make referrals just to make referrals. Don't build products just to make money. Always want to provide value. Yes.
That's exactly it.
Right? You want to make money. You should make tons of money. You want to make millions. But focus on the value that you're providing, then everything will come from an honest place. So that's the organic part. The more artificial part is, what are those things that you can do out in the world that help to build the way that you're seen? And that's when you start to get into media, publicity, things of that nature. So this day and age with digital, being huge, you have to have a book. It's like a book or a pamphlet that your company offers to people. It's like your business card.
Yes.
Business cards. Look we're talking, via video. So your business card is a book, a pamphlet. Start building up your intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
And then branding out in the world, exposure. Start doing things like, and these are things that you guys want to start right from the beginning. Do a newsletter. If weekly is too much for you right now, then do it monthly. You don't have to call it a newsletter. You can call it a news brief. You can call it whatever you want. But what happens is when you're constantly creating valuable content and you're putting it out there in the social media spaces, all the social networking platforms and media, you're raising your platform. That's what Sean and I call it, elevating your platform. And all that means is, imagine you're in a sea of 1 million people and you're suddenly being lifted. Well, what happens is everyone in that audience starts to see you, right? So you get higher and higher, and now you're on. That's what elevating your platform means. And the way that you do that is through book writing, publicity, and none of this has to be that expensive. I know today we're not going to talk about that. I can come back. We can have those conversations. There are ways that you can elevate your platform even when you're first starting, so that you can start getting quotes in journals and magazines and other online publications that will elevate your platform.
That's great. And actually, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I hope that wasn't too much.
No, that's great. Okay, cool. Well, let me tackle into that a little bit, because there's when you first start, you've got yourself established. One thing Amy touched on there, which I want to follow up with, is creating a newsletter is very easy, and I'll show how easy it is. This is what we do. What we do is we do a roundup of our blog posts for the week. We post every day, and then on a Friday or Saturday, we'll take a summary of each post with an image, and then I'll do a brief intro, and then I'll send that out. Guess what? People who haven't been to the blog, there's 5 valuable articles that they can go back and read, and then they can see that. And then guess what? That becomes the newsletter, and I'll have a little thing on there. And then maybe what I'll do is, by using a little bit of style, if you want to borrow my style, you can have a look at how I format my newsletter. Literally, it's copy and paste from the blog with the image, the summary or the excerpt title of the actual post, and then down the side I'll have maybe a little bit of a promotion or advertising. But guess what? Every time, what happens is people build trust in the fact that they know this is a value email that they get regularly from you. And then you still have your advertising down the side if people want to, say, attend a free webinar or do something else later on. There's all those options. You still get that out there, but your open rates for the emails and the click-through rates on that are incredible, and you continuously use that to build trust, because the open rates on newsletters, when they know it's a newsletter or site update or something like that, is incredible, because they know how I'm not going to be pitched here, and you establish that trust that you send out value as well as promotional emails and whatever else you have going on.
And you're developing fans.
That's exactly right. And establishing credit.
That's right. I just got an email from someone. It's so amazing. Every time I receive these emails, I'm shocked. This woman finally joined my coaching club and she said, I have been a fan of yours for 5 years. I've been following your newsletters for 5 years. So here I've been, it's so easy to feel disconnected from your fan base. But here I've been making an impact on this woman with my once a week newsletter and I had no idea.
That's exactly it.
So what you're talking about is so critical.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's great. And I guess that touches on the next thing. So, yeah, we could go into this a little bit. What I was going to say is, okay, you've got everything established. You've got your brand. You've got your vision. You know where you are. You've got everything kind of in place. And I know you specialize in offline media exposure as one of the things you do. I specialize on the online, so it's good that we kind of got a good dichotomy going on here. So if they wanted free, cheap exposure, what would be the first starting point to get some kind of credibility in the media, so to speak? We could touch on that a little bit.
Okay. You have to have, first you need to understand the way the news works, okay? So the news is about timely. It's about current events. It's about speaking about how whatever your products and services are, it's not just about that, how are they newsworthy? How do you have something to say as an expert or an expert company that matters to the world today? So when you are beginning to formulate what would be newsworthy, you're thinking about how what you do ties into what's going on. That the news, that's all they care about. So there's a few things that I tell people to do when they want to begin this process. One, start watching the news. Start watching talk shows. Start watching e-entertainment. Start watching the shows that you think make sense for you to be on, right? So if you're a business person, where would they talk about your topic, right? This is where people get it wrong. They go and they pitch a news story on e-entertainment when what they have to talk about doesn't relate to entertainment at all.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrity or something that's going on, right?
Yeah.
So if I want to talk about branding, for example, and how I think Beyonce is destroying her brand, well, that might interest the media. They might think, well, that's kind of cool. Who's this girl saying that Beyonce is destroying her brand? Okay, so you need to A, really understand who you are, and B, have something to talk about, and it constantly has to be fresh. So when you start to tackle getting into the media, you have to be on top of it. You have to be on top of what's happening today and what new pitch do I have. For example, when I did Dr. Drew's Life Changers, we pitched them 5 times. They turned us down 4 times. The 5th time, they just so happened to be doing something in my area on business. They're like, oh my God, Amy. And the reason they thought, oh my God, Amy, is because they liked me on time 1, 2, 3, and 4. They just couldn't use what I was offering. So you can't get frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's very good.
Talking bigger picture and not scaling it back to how would you actually go out and pitch. But before you start pitching, you have to understand how you fit in, because what some of the real rookie mistakes are is they start contacting the journalists at the different stations, or the producers at the different shows that would, why is this person contacting me? Lose credibility. However, I would not recommend starting to get that until you have a book and you really have a brand that if they went to your website, they would get your story right away. They would get it. They get, oh my gosh, this is cool. This person's established. You need to look established. I want to hear what you have to say.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Now, okay, you touched on one thing, which we're both authors in our own right. We do a lot of very cool stuff. We've got our brands established and everything else. But someone else who wants to really start off establishing a brand, or maybe even becoming an author, what kind of how would they tackle that? How would they start writing a book, getting it published? Is it better to try and get it traditionally published, or is it okay to go self-published?
Very good question. I have a lot of experience in this area. Okay, so first, let me cover the first part, which is, how do I start? Again, providing value. People will get caught up in a book and they'll spend like 3 years developing it. Too late, your topic's probably totally outdated. You really have to be careful when it comes to this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
With everything digitally that's happening, things are so fast. So you need to go, what's timely now? What topic do I have now? You don't have to create a 300-page book. So start with titles. What is this gonna be about, and why does anybody care? Okay? So you generate your topic, and then you imagine, wow, well, how many chapters do I need? So you tackle it like an outline.
Mm-hmm.
Simply, I mean, I say simply, it's not always that simple, but it's a simple structure. Come up with that title, break it down into chapters, boom, start from there. I would highly recommend that you don't just write a book that's all over the place. I would actually go to the bookstore, go to Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
buy a book on writing books. Whether it's writing self-help, I'm assuming most people in this genre of business are going to write self-help on some level, or they're going to at least educate on a product or something. So it's really important that you understand the structure, right? So you don't just have this rambling book. It's very easy to tackle this, though. So that's the first part. That's how you would begin and start. Now, traditional versus non. This is the truth. The traditional marketplace has tanked. And I really mean that. Does that mean that you can't publish traditionally? Yes. You will make zero money, especially as a first-time author. Let me just put it out there for you. And it's very difficult to get an agent to represent you. It's very difficult. Can it happen? Yes. But the competition is huge. So let me just put this into perspective for you. I have several friends, they've got shows on TV, and they're writing books and they're not getting picked up traditionally. That's how bad it is. So unless you're like celebrity in the sports arena, or you have some dramatic story to tell that has to be told, that's become newsworthy in the media, it's really hard to get a traditional publishing deal. And there isn't a lot of money in it for you, and there's no market. So let me explain. When you write a book, you have to think of your book as a business. It's a product, anything else. And the way the traditional marketplace treats that book is like a business, right? So here's the product. What's the marketing plan behind it so that we can sell 1 million copies, right? Or we can sell 50,000 copies. How are we going to do that? So let's just pretend, Sean, you're a first-time author. You're coming to me. You want to do this. Those are the questions I'm going to ask you. Now you're thinking to yourself, you, the broad you, well, I'm doing traditional publishing because you're going to do the marketing. No, doesn't work like that.
No.
It's very sad affairs, but the only way me, the publisher, is going to put any marketing into you is if, like, you're Beyonce. And I'm not kidding. Or you have an established background, meaning you've already been a best-selling author.
Mm-hmm.
First-time authors, I've just painted a picture of how miserable the traditional publishing world is, because I want to be totally honest with you. It's rough. You're not going to get an advance on your book. It doesn't work like that. The speed with which people can now develop content is so fast that in order for you to compete, you need to look at books differently. Number one, look at it as a business card. Don't look to make money.
No.
You want to make money with your book. If you do, I highly recommend, as a first-time author, tapping into it online. 100%. I sold 50,000 copies of my book that I now offer for free, 150-page business guide. 50,000 copies at, how much did I sell it for? $39.99. I never, ever could have done that or made that money, ever, in traditional publishing. Never.
So you self-published that one, had that all done?
Self-publish it. I offered it on my website, built up partnerships, for them to communities, and then the word got out. Didn't even release it on Amazon.
Interesting. Very cool.
I also am a speaker, so I can speak for a corporation and get in front of 5,000 or 10,000 people, and I could sell books there.
That's interesting as well. Now, did you do that printed?
No, audio. So I gave everybody a gift card. I wish I had one in here, but I'm still in boxes. I just moved to the beach. And I basically created a free gift card. It's a beautiful card that says, free gift for you. with my URL at the bottom so that they could download it. And I basically shared with them that I do that because I'm keeping green, and if you want a copy, do it. But a lot of these people are reading on their Kindles, and so it doesn't really necessarily make sense. But this is a way for you to not even have to pay for printing. Like, this is, the world that Sean and I are in. We have people in our programs, and we're doing everything as downloads, and so it really keeps the cost down as an entrepreneur. So did I answer what you wanted on the book?
No, that's perfect. And let me add, if you want to get like public exposure, one thing that I do is I use a system actually with Amazon, which is called Create Space, and this will allow you to get your book actually self-published. And you basically put together a manuscript and everything else. They'll help you with editors and stuff like that if you want to, or you can go find one and get a freelancer to help you with that. And the one way, I'll be quite honest, like I said, I suck at writing. I hate writing. So what I will do is I will do the exact same breakdown. This is how I write a book in a month, okay? I will make a breakdown, and I'll start off with the beginning. Okay, I always start with the end in mind, which is the goal that I'm trying to help them achieve. And then I break down the steps on how to get there, what they need to cover. So that I work from the end, work backwards. And then what I'll do is I will then break those chapters down into subtopics. Okay, what do I want to cover there? I've got bullet points. And then guess what I do? I sit in front of my microphone and I dictate it. And then I get someone to transcribe that. And then what I'll do is I'll go back and then they will actually say, okay, this is for a book. And I'm dictating it for a book. You can hire transcribers. Here's a little inside secret, guys. mturk.com. This is where all the big transcribing sites, they go micro outsource to their site to get transcribers. You can get it done for a fraction. I kind of stole a transcriber from there who will do 2 hours of audio for about $40.
Oh my God. I have to write that down. What was that? mturk?
mturk.com. And Jackie, if you're watching this, you're an absolute rock star. You've been my saving grace. And she's part of our team. She's absolutely phenomenal. And she'll do 2 hours of audio for like $40. It's incredible. But there's all sorts of micro outsourcers out there that need work that will transcribe what you say and do a great job. You say, hey, this is for a book. So they'll take out all the ums and uhs and stuff like that. Then what you do is once you've recorded your audio, just go in and edit it, take out the bits you wanted to, oh, I screwed that up. Okay, cut that part out. Just give them the finished audio and then say this is chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Guess what? They will then give you all of that. They will bullet point it out for you and kind of format it. And then you just give that to someone to kind of format and edit, insert some images. Guess what? You've got a book. And you could do that. I mean, you could do it in a week if you really wanted to. But as long as you're clear on the subject, you're confident about, and the information's all organized, you can then just dictate that, boom, then transcribe it, you've got an instant book. Yeah. And then again, you can self-publish it or put it on Kindle, just upload the document to Kindle with a cover, boom, you're done.
Now, you just inspired something that I wanted to share. I don't want to give the impression that nobody should consider traditionally publishing their book, but I will say this. If you can I have one of the best book agents in the country. We have yet to get a great publishing deal for all the reasons that I told you. Because really, this is their feedback. So when is your show going to be on the air? No joke. It's like a catch-22. You want a traditional publishing deal, then you need to have your own talk show on, whatever network. It's literally it's that hectic. However, if 50,000 is nothing. You sell 1 million online. If you do a really good job of selling online, you have now just created your calling card to getting a traditional agent and publisher on board. Exactly. And they'll pay attention because of the community that you've developed. It's the same thing with videos. Like, I know many video celebrities, and they have 1 million hits. Nobody knows who they are. But now that they have 1 million hits, suddenly people pay attention. So it's a catch-22. You can do a lot of this on your own. So the better you are at marketing your own stuff, which no one's going to give you marketing dollars anyway, then people go, ooh, everyone wants to jump on once you're already a hot commodity. And that makes it difficult for us to establish credibility in the book world and in the TV world. So I always say, Don't spend all of your time developing a show for your business. Don't spend all of your time trying to get a traditional publisher. This is the small bucket. This is the 10% of a big business plan. So only spend 10%, 5% of your time working on those types of things. Because
That's very cool.
Things that create the money and drive the core business.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And you're right. So that leads me to another question, which just popped in my head. Okay, so when they're just starting out, what would you say, where would their main focus start? Now, you said that's like 5 or 10%. And it's a great thing. And believe me, guys, once you start doing that, you build instant authority and credibility far beyond, I would say, 95% of your marketplace, because all your competitors don't take the time and effort to build a real brand. You've got to remember that the ones who really succeeded, kind of like in the top 10%, all the rest are struggling for the scraps. So you're aiming whatever market you're in. If you really, really want to create $1 million income or a very high $6-figure income, you really need to be the top of your industry and game. So first tip that I would give is go study, read everything you can in your market. I always say read for 30 to 60 minutes every single day. And if you read books in your market that do that, you'll read about 50 books in a year. Guess what? You are now a leading expert in your market. I mean, the average adult only reads 1 book every year, and that's terrible. So if you start doing that, you absorb all that information. Your brain is a great filter. It'll disseminate everything you need that applies to you, and you think is, okay, this is what I need to communicate. Great, you've just learned everything. You've been mentored by all these experts who have written all these other books.
Right.
And now you can start establishing that. But anyway, back to my question, because as I go off on one of my famous tangents, where should they focus first? Now, you said about brand. We've covered branding, self-doubts, the kind of the inside game, as one of my very good friends, Dana, would say, is the inside game and the outside game, the inner game and the outside game. Where should they focus on first to really make things start happening right now?
Okay, so now we're talking about like starting your business.
Yes.
Okay. Number 1, vision. What am I building? Be so clear, you couldn't be any clearer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's your target market? What is your brand going to communicate? That branding part. And I like to say, do a mini business plan, right? Like, meaning really understand, this is where I want to go in the next 5 years. This is where I want to go in the next year. Like, break it down. You want to know. So if you know where you want to be in 5 years, then break that 5 years into, say, 3 phases. You need to understand on paper structurally where you're going to go, because that's going to be your guide. And you're going to change that when things don't go right. And you're like, whoop, that was silly. So you want to change it. But you need that starting point of a guide. Otherwise, you're going to wake up every day and go, what the hell am I supposed to be doing? And that will get you nowhere fast. No
Very
money
true.
fast and no clients fast. So vision, plan. This is my plan. This is how I'm going to execute this vision. Literally. And remember, your entire business is based on sales. Like, I can't even believe how many entrepreneurs I coach that forget this. I know you do the same thing. They don't create, either in the case of what you've taught so many people with marketing on the internet, creating a sales funnel. But if you're not marketing on the internet, you still need a sales funnel. How are you going to generate sales? What is the plan to keep people coming in and continuously, consistently buying your products and services? So before Sean, marketing on the internet was like making me crazy, but he's amazing. So that's all changing.
Thank you.
But traditional sales that's my world. And that has to do with networking, really understanding how to communicate. You know what? Now I'm all over the place. Now I'm not giving you the sales plan. You need a sales plan. I won't get into all the minutia of what that means, but you have to know how you're going to generate sales in your business. And then I say spend 90 days building that foundation. My vision, my brand, this is who I am, this is the message. Here's my plan of action, how I'm going to do this, and now execute. Start executing. Make mistakes quickly. Don't be afraid. People create these amazing plans and then they don't do them.
Yeah.
You have to execute. You have to get out there and network and bomb. fall flat on your face as you're trying to sell because you don't know what you're doing, because that's when you tap into your team, which, by the way, is part of that kind of 90-day structure, is getting that team in order. That's all part of your foundation. Is that confusing?
No, I think that's bang on. That's great. Yeah, so vision, create a plan, execute the plan, and spend 90 days making sure everything's in place. Guys, that's exactly what it takes. It's really, write it down. That's one thing. I mean, I had, when I first started online, I had this all in my head. Guess what? My head has ADHD. That means that plan was fragmented and all over the place. When I started really firming down, okay, this is what I do, this is how I'm going to do it, this is where I want to be in 5 years. And I'll tell you right now, guys, I had a 5-year plan. I achieved it in 9 months because everything was so solid. I had done all that foundation work. And if you're a Kickstart member, guys, this is what we're doing here, is we're establishing a foundation for you to build your future success on. Everything starts with a solid foundation, because if you don't have a solid foundation, all the walls and the building and the empire you build on top of that will fall and crumble.
That's right.
And you'll be left just in disarray.
That's right.
So, solid foundation. Everything Amy's saying here is exactly what we've been saying. And you're hearing it from multiple experts now. So, yes, foundation. Create your solid foundation, and then you can build up from there. And you know that everything you will build is based and it's going to be rock solid. So, Amy, that's absolutely fantastic. Now, last question, because this was meant to be half hour, but as always, I get talking and then all hell breaks loose. Last question. You touched on one thing I really wanted to cover with you. It's networking.
Yeah.
Now, networking is critical. You start building peer relationships that help you open all sorts of fantastic doors and maybe opportunities you never even thought was possible. So how do you start establishing a network in your market? Now, it could be anything from, we've got people in acne treatment to chicken coops. I don't think there's much networking in the chicken coop market, unless you're talking about the chickens themselves, and they don't really offer much but eggs. But how if you're starting to build a business in a certain area, how would you actually establish and start creating those network relationships?
Yeah. There's 2 types of people you want to network with. You want to network with your community, the people you want to sell your products and services to, and your power partners, the people who can lead you to the people you want to sell your products and services to. That's it. Those are the 2 groups. So once you know who those groups are, then you can create a plan on how you're going to meet them. So backing up, your community, the people you want to sell products and services to, who are they? Be really clear on that target market. So for me, it's aspiring and struggling and established but overworked female entrepreneurs. That's my target. I know how old they are. I know where they're at. I know how much money they're making. I'm very clear. So once you're clear on that, the second part is creating the bucket of who could lead me to those people, right? So for example, if Sean's marketing to female entrepreneurs, he'd go, Amy could be my power partner because she markets to that same community, and I can see that there's some differences in what we do, so we could be power partners, right? It doesn't have to be in matching industries. I could go meet someone who's a health and wellness expert, but they market to females, and so boom, how many entrepreneurs are in that marketplace? Those are called power partners.
Yeah.
All right, so and by the way, step outside of the traditional, really start to get clever on those power partners. For example, I partner with therapists. And the reason I would partner with therapists is because they deal with entrepreneurs all the time who are having personal development issues. And I do a lot of coaching in that arena. So that might sound like a stretch to some, but I can make that stretch work for me.
Mm-hmm.
I could power partner with GoDaddy. A lot of you know GoDaddy, right? Now we're talking companies, not just a person. GoDaddy is such a great place because people are just launching their URLs. They're just starting their websites. Well, who's just starting their websites? New entrepreneurs. That's who. Well, that's my target market. So now I'm starting to think bigger. But what a great partnership that could be, because they're going to want all my people to sign up with GoDaddy. And I want them to send me leads for my development program. We don't do remotely the same thing, but we target the same market. So it's really important for you to explore not easy power partners, but the ones that feel like maybe kind of scary and a stretch. Like, ooh, how am I? Don't worry about how you're going to call GoDaddy yet. Just get that.
That's great.
So those are the 2 buckets. And then, do you want me to talk about how you begin to pursue those buckets?
Yeah, go ahead. This will be great information because everyone's got a different perspective on how to do this. So I like people to take all the different chunks of information and disseminate. Okay, I can do that. That's more my match. So go ahead.
Okay. Right now, the fastest way is through either events online or offline, right? That's the social networking. People are very confused by this term. Social media is just a big space where everybody's socializing. Social networking, same thing. Like, social networking is what you do on a social media platform like a Facebook or a Twitter or a LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place for power partners. It can be great for finding your clients too, but it's better for peer-to-peer. It's better business to business. It's such a great opportunity, and like Sean and I we don't have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to leave. So start looking for, God, are there any GoDaddy representatives who are on LinkedIn? Who could I start to talk to? I just had some VP of marketing. The VP of marketing for Goldman Sachs reached out to me. I've been a huge fan. I'm writing a book on business leaders. I wanted to connect with you. Okay, let me think about that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's a great place for you to show off your brand and begin that process. So LinkedIn is one trick so that you don't have to leave the house. Attending events is another way, live if you prefer that, but don't waste your time attending the wrong events. You need to vet those events.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that your target market is there or those power partners are there. And then just go. Start talking to people. Ask them what they do. I hate people to waste time at events, which is why LinkedIn is so cool, because you get to see their profile and you know right away whether you're talking to somebody that you want. Right? If you go to Match.com today, at least you get a sense for who they are and you're shopping in the right direction. Whereas if you go to a live event, it's kind of random.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
A lot of time. So there's a couple of pointers. There's many other ways to do that, but I'm sure you don't want me to overload everyone.
That's great. Well, that's absolutely fantastic. And Amy, as this has been incredible call, and I know we've kind of hit the hour mark, so I really should let you go. But what I want to do lastly is just say that you're a rock star. And thank you so much for being part of our expert panel and sharing all this information. Guys, Amy is amazing. She is someone that is... I just want to say, you truly are a rock star. She has been doing this for a long time. She has helped so many, thousands of people get started and everything else. And, being part of the inner circle here, Amy is one of my power partners. And it's absolutely incredible. And just to say that, we connected. She specializes in offline. I specialize in the online. And we connected because of that, we both have the same kind of target market, although I go to all kind of entrepreneurs, but that is where we created a network bond and an incredible friendship. So, Amy, thank you so much. And if you want to check out what Amy does, you'll see the link below me right there. It's amyapplebaum.com. You can sign up for free for her version of the Inner Circle, and that will be up. If it's not up already, will be up very shortly. And you can rock and roll on with that, and sign up for her newsletter as well. Get all sorts of great news and information. She's got a fantastic blog as well. So, Amy, thank you so much. Very much appreciate you being here today, taking time out of your day, and I know you've got the beach behind you there, so I'd be running down there with a surfboard and looking like a complete idiot if I was there. But I know you've got a lot going on today, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You're a rock star, and I'm honored to be part of your inner circle. And anytime, I'm here for you.
Awesome. And if you're an elite member, we will be doing a mastermind with Amy. You can ask her all sorts of live questions, and we'll be doing that very shortly. Keep an eye on the in the mastermind area, and you will see when we've got that scheduled and everything else. So, Amy, thank you very much. And guys, don't be a stranger. We got more expert panels coming up, and we'll do these and let you know as soon as new ones are up. So, guys, thank you very much, and Amy, thank you.
Bye.